I'm Mark Golub, and in the news, the inauguration of Donald Trump. And wouldn't you know, some Jews have turned the ceremony into a Jewish issue. Why? Because an Orthodox rabbi participated in the ceremony. One of the most well-known and most highly regarded rabbis on the American scene today, Rabbi Marvin Hier, the founding dean of the prestigious Simon Wiesenthal Center and its Museum of Tolerance in Los Angeles, California, as well as a recipient of an Academy Award for his documentary film on pre-World War II European Jewry called Echoes That Remain. Rabbi Marvin Hier became the first Orthodox rabbi ever to give a benediction at an American inauguration, and here is that benediction.
Eternal God, bless President Donald J. Trump and America, our great nation. Guide us to remember the words of the psalmist, who may dwell on your holy mountain, one who does what is right and speaks the truth, who knows that when you eat the labor of your hands, you are praiseworthy, that he who sows in tears shall reap in joy, because the freedoms we enjoy are not granted in perpetuity, but must be reclaimed by each generation. As our ancestors have planted for us, so we must plant for others. While it is not for us to complete the task, neither are we free to desist from them. Dispense justice for the needy and the orphan, for they have no one but their fellow citizens. And because a nation's wealth is measured by her values and not by her vaults, bless all of our allies around the world who share our beliefs. By the rivers of Babylon, we wept as we remembered Zion. If I forget thee, O Jerusalem, may my right hand forget its skill. The doer of all these shall never falter. May the days come soon when justice will dwell in the wilderness and righteousness will abide in the fertile fields, and the work of righteousness will be peace, quietness, and confidence forever. Amen.
The benediction of Rabbi Marvin Hier, a montage of biblical and rabbinic texts, alluding, of course, to Pirkei Avot. It is not one's responsibility to complete the work, but neither are you free to desist from it. And you heard him call for the justice done for the needy. In any case, there's been something of a deluge of response to Rabbi Hier's participation, along with 5 other non-Jewish clerics. Some has come in the form of outrageous, ugly, anti-Semitic tweets such as, "What the hell is some Jew rabbi doing at the inauguration? They are the enemies of America." Pretty ugly. But in some ways, uglier still, certainly more disappointing to any Jew who believes in Klal Yisrael and in both Jewish debate and what Rabbi Steve Guttow calls Jewish civility. Worse was the criticism leveled at Rabbi Hier from inside the Jewish community. In fact, a story in the Allgemeiner points out that Jewish liberals are calling Rabbi Hier's blessing a curse. Well, how does Rabbi Marvin Hier feel about the torrent of criticism heaped upon him by fellow Jews, and why did he accept the invitation to do a benediction at the inauguration of Donald Trump. For some answers, what better person to have on our JBS phones right now from Los Angeles is Rabbi Marvin Hier. Marvin, thank you so much for joining us again on JBS.
Thank you, Mark. Let me say the following. When I was born in the Lower East Side. I davened in a Litovitz shul in the Lower East Side, a Hasidic shul. And my father used to walk me to the shul, and he would always repeat the quote from the Gemara, the Cheretz Kodma LaTorah. Graciousness precedes even the Torah itself.
Yes.
If you look at Jewish communal life today in Europe, it's at the end of its, unfortunately, the end of its illustrious history. Many are unsure. People don't wear yarmulkes in the streets of Paris, even in London, certainly in Belgium, in the Netherlands. In the United States of America, liberal Jews, conservative Jews, Hasidic Jews, we have kollels, we have yeshivas, we have day schools, we have afternoon schools. Jews have thrived here. For a rabbi, certainly an Orthodox rabbi, for the first time invited to appear, say a prayer at the inauguration and refuse, would be the epitome of ungratefulness. It would be a chilul Hashem, and it would be a violation of the principle, the Cheretz Kodma LaTorah. And that's the reason. It didn't take me a second.
Yes.
When I was asked, I immediately said yes. And I'm proud to have done that, because I think the Jewish community owes this to our great country, the greatest democracy on the planet.
Marvin, that's so beautifully said. Incidentally, I want you to know that of all the rabbis I could think of, I was so glad it was you, because of what the Simon Wiesenthal Foundation Center means. It is your baby. You created it. It has come to be a bastion of tolerance and preaching tolerance and embrace for all of America. And you have served the Jewish world with distinction for so long. It was really an appropriate honor, and everybody watching JBS right now should understand there are many wonderful rabbis in America, but Marvin Hier, by dint of what he has done and contributed to Jewish life, occupies a very special place. So Marvin, I was very proud of and happy for you. Now Marvin, I do want to know, how did the invitation come to you?
I was called by the inauguration committee. They did not explain at all on what basis the decision was made. And they called me saying, first I was told that there would be a call coming in from the inauguration committee in a half an hour. And the call came in, and they invited me to give the prayer. And at first I thought that maybe because there were many inaugurations where you have in the cathedral, in the Washington Cathedral. And he said, no, we're talking about the inauguration itself on the 12 noon. And they wanted to know whether I wanted to think about it or accept immediately, and I accepted immediately.
Good for you.
For the reasons I told you.
Beautiful.
And the other thing I want you to know, Mark, is the other factor is all these people, they cover the fact that there were anti-Semitic attacks. They put a devil's face in front of me as I was delivering the remarks on the crazy neo-Nazi sites. But nobody mentions the fact, if a rabbi turned down such an invitation, and it became public that a rabbi was asked, and he said no, I can assure you it would have created a ton of anti-Semitic backlash of people saying, could you believe those Jews? They thrive here. The United States has been so great to them. And they have the audacity to say that they're not going to honor the inauguration of a new president of the United States. It would be foolish to do that.
I agree with you. By the way, Marvin, really, how much anti-Semitism have you received from non-Jews?
Well, we've received a lot of tweets. Some have been threatening.
Marvin, what's a lot mean?
What's that?
What does a lot mean?
Hundreds.
Hundreds of anti-Semitic tweets have come into you.
Yes, to the center, yes, saying that, some of them have been looked over by the security here at the center very carefully. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure your listening audience has seen the caricature of either using the devil and putting the devil's face, keeping my raincoat, but for my face, replacing it with the devil with a long nose. And they circulated that. We've beefed up the security here at the Wiesenthal Center and also in my home. And let me say one other thing to you, Mark. I'm not a fan. I believe that 364 days a year of political bickering is dayenu, enough. Once every fourth year,
yes,
that people come together in a peaceful transition of a new president is not the time when elected members boycott the inauguration, because then you're entering the sphere of what I would call a seesaw, where both sides hit rock bottom. That's the idea of a seesaw. So now the Democrats started it, 65 or 64 didn't show up. Next time around, let's say the Republicans decide they want to retaliate because it's been done before. The loser is democracy in the United States of America. It's not a smart thing to do. If the Obamas, Carter, the Bushes, and the Clintons came to the inauguration, even though they had tremendous differences with Donald Trump, to see members of Congress not come was, in my opinion, a very foolish gesture on their part.
I could not agree with you more, and I said that last week. By the way, there have been other rabbis who have spoken, who have given prayers or benedictions at inaugurations, although there has not been one since Alfred Gottschalk gave a benediction at the inauguration of Ronald Reagan. There was no rabbi at Bill Clinton's two inaugurals. There was no rabbi at Barack Obama's two inaugurals. We did have Nelson Glick is the first one I remember way back when JFK was inaugurated, and we had a rabbi with President Nixon, Rabbi Edgar Magnin, and then Seymour Siegel from JTS gave a benediction at the second Nixon inauguration. But by any chance, Marvin, do you know if any of those rabbis received anti-Semitic communications? There wasn't Twitter at that point. But do you know, are you the first rabbi to receive this kind of hate mail from anti-Semites, or do you feel that unfortunately this goes with the territory?
Well, it's both. It goes with the territory, and as you pointed out, we live in the age of Twitter and emails. It's much easier to communicate, and therefore I said there were hundreds that came in on all of our, that the center received here. And, it goes, but I have to point out that, look, this is the neo-Nazis. These are the haters of Jews. These are if they would be in charge, they would do to the Jewish community what Hitler did to the Jews during the Second World War. But at the same time, we have to be cognizant of the fact that even though this came from the extreme right, there is also anti-Semitism on the extreme left. And that is the people who are the one-staters, the BDS, who want to say that in the entire world, the only apartheid state is the state of Israel, where if you go to Tel Aviv, you can see women in bikinis, you can see Hasidim, you can see secular Jews. In no country in the world would that be tolerated except in the state of Israel in the Middle East. But according to the BDS movement, Israel is an apartheid state. So the press loves to write a lot about the extreme right, but it does not give equal attention to the extreme left, which wants to do to the Jewish people. If we were left to a one-state solution between Israel and the Palestinians, there'd be no Jewish state.
I understand. I may want you to comment on that again in a moment. I want, to what extent do you feel that the anti-Semitic tweets, for example, you received, were a function of the fact that Donald Trump has been elected president?
Oh, I think that absolutely. Look, they don't like to see, Donald Trump. Look, Donald Trump has a daughter who converted to Orthodox Judaism.
No, I want to, but wait, I may not have
Yeah.
asked, I want to ask the question again. There are people who are saying all the time that Donald Trump foments hatred and discord and is an agent that works against unity, and that his campaign brought out the darkest side of America. I'm asking you, do you think the darkness that you experienced personally after giving a benediction at this inauguration, is this because Donald Trump is a dark, divisive figure and that he has in some way facilitated the anti-Semitism that you experienced?
No, I don't believe that. I believe anti-Semites were anti-Semites before Trump, and they'll remain anti-Semites after Trump. In other words, Trump didn't initiate their anti-Semitism. They didn't see Trump at a rally and said, now it's great to hate the Jews. They hated the Jews beforehand.
You understand, Marvin, what you hear, those Jews who are upset with Donald Trump's election, and the overwhelming majority, look, 71% of American Jewry voted for Hillary Clinton. My guess is it's a higher number of American Jews who are so upset that Donald Trump is now president. And one of the things they say is, there may have been anti-Semitism, as Marvin Hier describes, before he was nominated and elected. But his nomination, his candidacy, the way he ran his election campaign, and now the fact that he becomes president, it has given a hecture to anti-Semitism. And that's what I want to know, whether you agree with or you feel that's an unfair criticism.
Let me tell you something. That they're saying that Donald Trump precipitated and conditioned this new hatred of the Jews.
Exactly.
Therefore, when they saw a rabbi, but these people who came, these so-called hard right, let's say, who would be the ones that would be suspected of sending some of these kinds of emails, they knew very well that Donald Trump has an Orthodox son-in-law and an Orthodox Jewish daughter. And therefore, it doesn't make any sense. What did they think? That when Trump wins, they're not going to go to a Seder in the White House. That they're not going to daven, they're not going to belong to a shul. They moved in Georgetown to live near two Orthodox shuls. So it doesn't make any sense that they would say Donald Trump created the atmosphere. Yay for Donald Trump, even though he has a son-in-law and daughter that are Orthodox Jews.
Mm-hmm. Were you asked to give a benediction because they knew you were pro-Trump during the election process?
No, not at all. I criticized Trump when he wanted to deport 12 million Latinos. I think that was I criticized him. I'm not in favor of a Muslim registry. I am in favor of a jihadist registry of those who want to end Western civilization. But no, I wasn't selected for that reason, I don't believe at all, because that's not true. We criticized, look, the Chaim Wiesenthal Center has criticized every president. We loved Ronald Reagan. We criticized him bitterly over Bitburg. We criticized George H. Bush. We criticized William Jefferson Clinton, and we absolutely lambasted President Obama for his deal with Iran and what he did with the settlements, he and John Kerry. So I don't think that that's the case at all. We've criticized all presidents, and we will do so in the future when we feel that the criticism is justified.
Well, good for you. So, Marvin, how do you feel about those Jews who criticize you for participating in the inauguration?
I think that those Jews, I told them, I said, if they would these Jews voted for the people sitting on the dais. They voted They were Obama fans. They were Clinton fans. Many of them probably Jimmy Carter fans. Even George Bush had his disagreements with Donald Trump, of course. But all of them did not make the decision that these Jews have made. All of them said, you know what? It's more important to sit there on the peaceful transition of power. We're coming. And yet these Jews want to boycott it.
Mm-hmm. Look, Jewish Democrats, I've already said this, they are strongly pro the Democratic Party and the Democratic candidates. They were revolted by the presidencies of Richard Nixon, Ronald Reagan. The Jewish liberal chant during the Bush years was, anyone but Bush. How much of the virulent, fascistic type authoritarianism being expressed so casually by liberal Jews is a product of pure partisan politics, do you believe? How much of it is, on the other hand, unique to anti-Trump sentiments?
Well, first of all, it may be anti-Trump sentiment, but the point is, I think, it's not very patriotic. The election's over. He won, according to the Constitution. He got the more electoral college votes. He's the new president. That rather than go into depression, hope that he will become a great president. Take some positive aspect of it and say, hopefully he'll fix the economy, rather than simply, because your side lost, be sore losers.
Okay. So, Marvin, I have a rabbinic question to ask you. I already mentioned you did a marvelous job, a montage of biblical and rabbinic values and quotes. But I do want to know why you inserted the line from Psalm 137 about the Jewish exiles of the 6th century BCE weeping at the rivers of Babylon, and then you quoted the line, if I forget thee, O Jerusalem, may my right hand forget its skill. Why did you put that into your benediction at the inauguration ceremony?
To be perfectly honest with you,
yes,
I did it because of Kerry and President Obama, when 12 days before a new administration is to be sworn in, they made their famous blame it on the settlements entirely speech, when everyone knows that Bougie Herzog, if he were elected prime minister, would never sign a deal with any Palestinian entity, he said so, as long as Hamas remains in Gaza. Yet not one time has the United States or any of the Western powers gone to the Security Council and said, today's meeting is how we dislodge the terrorist organization committed to Israel's destruction from Gaza. Never once have they met on that, but they've met 15 times on settlements. When I saw that outrage, I thought that we should remind the viewing and listening audience that the Jewish people's claim to Medinas Yisrael goes back thousands of years and doesn't go to the end of the Turkish Empire in 1919. And that was the reason I selected it.
So what do you think, by the way, of Donald Trump's suggestion that the U.S. Embassy should be formally moved from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem?
I think it's a great idea. It should be done. Remember, there are many options that could be done. Anyone that knows Jerusalem knows that they say, oh, once you do that, Jordan's going to go crazy and the Palestinians are going to go crazy. Not at all. They have a consulate in West Jerusalem. It's across the street from Independence Park. The ambassador can live there and have his office there. There's no only insane people would think that part of Yerushalayim is ever going to be given up. And I'm not in favor of any division of Jerusalem. I remind your listening audience, it's been tried before, total failure. Tried before in Vienna after World War II, disaster. Tried before in Berlin and East and West Germany after World War II, total disaster. How's it going to work in a much smaller piece of land the old city and the rest of Yerushalayim. That's why I'm in favor of a united Jerusalem under Israeli sovereignty.
All right, one last question for you, Marvin. As you look at Jewish life today, again, you have a museum of tolerance. Most of us assume the tolerance that museum is addressing is a tolerance for all other groups, races, minorities, no matter the religion, no matter the color, no matter the place of origin, no matter the sexual preference, no matter the station in life.
I'm happy you asked me that, Mark.
Hold on. I want to know, how does Marvin Hier assess the level of tolerance inside the Jewish community for one another?
Well, it's a good question. Sometimes we could be very intolerant. And, I'm not in favor, as I said, after the election, a president has been elected. The time is for all of those who voted against him to say, let's give him a chance.
Yes.
Let's help him. Maybe he'll turn into a great president.
Yes.
But with respect to the Museum of Tolerance, from the day it opened its doors till today, 95% of all its visitors are non-Jews.
Yes.
African Americans, Latinos, Asians, people visit from all over in other words, Jews are a small amount in terms of their percentages. But 95% of our visitors are non-Jews, which is very important because you have to speak to the greater community and not just to your own local zip code.
Yes. Marvin Hier, you have done extraordinary work. It is an honor to speak with you. Yasher Koach for the work you did at the inauguration of an American president. His name happens to be Donald Trump, but I agree with you. The inauguration is bigger than the individual, whether it is a Republican, a Democrat, or even a candidate one despises. For one moment, this is what America chose. He won fair and square, and like you said, and like Alan Dershowitz has said, and by left and right, is what Brett Stevens said to me. Now it's time to give him a chance. But you represented the Jewish people, and as a rabbi, you represented us so wonderfully. I hope the next time you're in the New York area, Marvin, you'll give me a chance to sit in person with you. You have so much important things to say, but I thank you right now, A, for your service, and B, for spending time with me here on JBS.
Thank you very much, Mark. All the best.
Be well. The thoughts of Rabbi Marvin Hier, founding dean of the Simon Wiesenthal Center and its Museum of Tolerance in Los Angeles, California. And I've said what I have to say over and over again. One doesn't have to be in love with Donald Trump. I wish the criticisms of him had more to do with substance. If one reads what Donald Trump said in his inauguration, while the tone was jarring, it surprised me. My wife and I were very disappointed in the tone. If you read the words, there were many things he said which we believe in, which I believe all America is committed to, and which I believe liberal America is committed to. I want to give him a chance. My thanks, as always, to our director, Sloan Copeland, production coordinator, Serge Goldberg, JBS's associate director, Dara Golub, editors Dennis Golan and John McDevitt, and to the producer of In the News, Carol Lilienthal. Until the next time, I'm Mark Golub. Be well, my friends.